Are the Seattle Mariners legit playoff contenders? Let's talk about it. So something quick just to go over. When I say are the Mariners playoff contenders, I don't mean are they good enough to make it to the playoffs. I mean, are they good enough to get deep in the playoffs and compete for a World Series, not just make it to a wild card and, lose. I'm talking about, are they good enough to win a World Series? So today we're kind of going to go over some of their ranks in terms of offense, starting pitching, relief pitching, and in terms of what Fangraphs has them projected to win the wild card or to make it to the World Series, whatever it may be. We're going to go over some of those stats today. So in terms of some of those projections, here's kind of where Fangraphs sits. They have the Mariners with a 63.1% chance to win the division, a 19.5% chance to clinch a bye, a 9.8% chance to clinch a wild card, a 72.8% chance to make the playoffs, and a 4.7% chance to win the World Series. And as you can also tell by that chart, the Astros have a higher chance to make the playoffs and to win the division than the Texas Rangers do. And I don't think that's an unrealistic percentage. I think if the Astros are even competitive at the deadline, I think that they will still go out and buy. I don't think they'll ever really be in sell mode unless, they're 25 games out, but I don't really see that being the case. But with Fangraphs giving the Mariners a 4.7% chance to win the World Series, that has them the third best odds in the AL and the sixth best odds in the MLB. So in my opinion, I think these numbers are decently accurate. I don't think these are too far-fetched by any means. I think the Mariners have a solid chance at winning the division this year and making it to the playoffs in general. But in terms of winning a World Series, I don't think they're necessarily at that point just yet. I think we've seen this year that they can go out and compete with any team, whether it's the Yankees, the Orioles, even though they lost the Orioles series. I think they can still compete with them. They didn't get blown out by any means. So in terms of competing with these teams and really just staying in there, I don't think the Mariners struggle with that at all. I just think they're going to need another player or two or three to really set them over that edge. So if you told me the Mariners had a 7-game set against the New York Yankees, I would not sit here and be like, oh, they're going to get swept. I would say that it's going to be a competitive series. Do I think that they may pull it out? Sure. I don't think they have the best odds to pull it out by any means because I don't think they have any of that offensive firepower that the Yankees do have. But I think that's kind of where they need to add on at the deadline is really just get those offensive bats in. So just to kind of go over what I mean, just to give you a little bit of background with the offense, starting pitching, and relief pitching, Fangraphs breaks up offenses and defenses, but I'm talking about pitching by WAR. And right now, offensively, the Mariners are ranked 21st in the league in terms of WAR. From an offensive standpoint, they have a 5 WAR, which has them 21st in the league, which is just not good enough, to be honest. Even if the Mariners were ranked, 14th, this team would be that much better and that much higher above the Rangers and the Astros in the division. You're talking if this team could just sit 14th league average, that we would probably be 15 games over 500 right now, not just 8. There has been way too many games this season where the pitching has done really, really well. A prime example was against Oakland the other night. They just lost 2-1 where Julio had that home run off Mason Miller. But Logan Gilbert absolutely shoved. He had one mistake where he threw the ball away, and that guy ended up scoring. But besides that, you shouldn't lose a game to the Oakland Athletics 2-1. Like, the offense really just needs to pick it up in that aspect. They have been a little bit better since Brant Brown has been gone, and I'm not even going to get into that conversation. But they have been better since Brant Brown's gone. I'm not saying that that is maybe because of that reason, but they haven't struck out as much, and they have just been better offensively. Not to the point where they should be, but they, like I said, they have been better. So in terms of starting pitching WAR, the Seattle Mariners have a 5.5 WAR from the starting pitching, which has them ranked 10th in the majors. And while this is a very good ranking and our starting pitching has been very dominant all year, and they're a huge reason that we are first in the division in 8 games above 500, I do think that 10, they could still improve on that. I still think they could sit top 7 consistently, so that is definitely something I think they can improve on. That's personally, I think, you may disagree, but I still think kind of set them over that edge even more. I think this pitching staff is good enough to be even top 5. But again, no fault to the pitching. I don't blame them. I'm just saying I think they could be even better because they are that good and they have the guys that could be that good. So now this next one kind of shocked me a little bit. In terms of WAR for relief pitching, they're at a 1.7, which actually has them 9th in the league. And that's pretty impressive given the fact that Gregory Santos has not thrown a single inning this year and Matt Brash, as we know, is out for the season. For a Mariners bullpen who has had a decent amount of different pitchers in it this season, and none that are really huge names besides Munoz, as we know, but none of them that are really huge names have really done really, really well. They've had stretches where they were struggling a little bit, but they have been really, really good this season. I think the bullpen kind of gets overlooked because they don't really have that many fiery guys like we were hoping. We were hoping, Santos, Brash, and Munoz as the top 3, and those guys throw flames. But it is impressive for the other guys holding down the fort like that, and hopefully we can get Santos back this month and really just have an amazing 1-2 punch out of the bullpen at the end of the game. And to be honest, Munoz, I think, needs a little bit of a break. I think his body is kind of in pain right now, but I think he will be fine, knock on wood. He just really needs to get some help in terms of, not always being the guy that they need to rely on when they're up 2-1 or 3-1. And I'm not saying Munoz shouldn't be that guy, because every team needs that guy that they could just rely on when it's a close game or they're in a jam. Kind of like how they relied on Matt Brash when the bases would be loaded, one out. They'd always go to him because he would put the fire out. I do think Munoz just needs a little bit of help in that aspect, because obviously he's taken a lot of pressure off of other guys in the bullpen, which is a huge reason they have been successful. Because that's kind of a mental thing, is when you have a guy in the bullpen that is just so dominant, it really is just a stress relief on other guys. Like, okay, like, I could maybe get into a jam and we still wouldn't lose this game, or whatever it may be. It's just kind of a stress reliever. It's a mental thing more than anything. But I do think they need to maybe go out and get some help at the deadline in the bullpen as well. Go out and maybe get a Mason Miller. I don't think the A's would trade him in the division, but go out and get another fiery guy like that. So, you have Ryan Stanek, who throws over 100. You have Gregory Santos, who throws over 100. You have Munoz, who throws over 100. And you also have whoever else they may come out and get who will throw over 100 and obviously work a nasty slider in, I'm sure. So in my mind, I think the Seattle Mariners are just doing enough. They are taking a lot of games from their AL West competitors, taking 3 or 4 from the Astros, sweeping the Angels, and then taking 2 or 3 from the A's, which is always huge. And like we all know, a huge reason for that is the Seattle Mariners pitching staff. So like I said, I believe the Seattle Mariners are definitely playoff contenders. I don't necessarily think that I would be confident of them winning a World Series with the team they have right now. I think the potential is definitely there. Julio Rodriguez getting some of that power. A lot of these guys bringing up their batting average. Mitch Garver figuring out. Jorge Polanco figuring out when he comes back. I think they have the potential to be a World Series team, but right now, if you told me that they would go on a deep playoff run, I don't necessarily know if I would believe that. Like I said, the potential is there, and if they could all break out at once, sure, I think they could definitely go out and win a World Series. I think they have the talent, but right now, I can't confidently sit here and be like, this offense is deep enough to make a playoff run. So I guess we'll see what the Mariners do at the deadline, or maybe even earlier, because a lot of teams are seeking offers on some players. As we know yesterday, the White Sox are seeking offers on Luis Robert Jr. right now, so maybe they're trying to get rid of him beforehand, but also I believe that makes his value go up, and they would have to give up more to get him now, because we'd be getting him for a longer period of time. But in my mind, I think if this team really wants to make a deep playoff run, I think they need to add 2 more really, really high-quality bats and also another arm in the bullpen. So we'll see. We've heard some rumors that they are going to be very, very aggressive at the deadline. But let me know who you guys want to see the Mariners at the deadline. And otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.